And if your performance because of a crappy warm-up is here, you don't even get into that awesome zone of really pushing your muscles to grow. So a big part of that warm-up is to make sure you're improving your performance. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. How to warm up, our Fitness Simplified series. Welcome back. Let's talk about how warming up works in a very, very simple, straightforward manner. So 2 questions up front. What is warming up and why should we be doing it? Why should we care? Warming up is going to involve a couple of mechanisms. One is you're physically warming up your moving tissues and your joints before training. I'll tell you why in a little bit. That's a very good thing that you want. You're also sort of waking up or activating, priming the energy systems that actually move your muscles for you and get the kind of reps and lift the kind of weight that give you the best results. Those energy systems work just fine, but if you warm up properly, they can work at their very best when you need them during your working sets. Similarly, your nervous system, both your central nervous system and the parts of your peripheral nervous system that innervate the target muscles you're going to train that day, have a ramp up period. If you get right out of bed and someone's like, pick up this 400-pound deadlift bar, you're going to pull on it and you go, something's missing. One thing you can try is if you wake up in the middle of the night, try to go pee, try to clench your fist as hard as you can. Normally, like if I'm doing it right now, it's middle of the day. I'm like, like fingers hurt. Like I can generate a lot of force. But if I wake up in the middle of the night, I try to clench my fist, it literally like I'm crushing it. And it's just like, and I can barely feel any pressure. I'm like, what the hell? Well, it's because the nervous system is kind of like taking a cigarette break. And it's like, dude, what the hell's going on, man? You wanted me to do this. Please give me some warning. Warm me up next time. And lastly, when you're warming up for training, it's, probably muscle growth training that you're doing. And that means every exercise you're going to be doing has a certain proper technique. So the last big part of why you warm up is to get your body clued in into that proper technique, to actually say to your body, hey, remember this movement? And it's like, yes, wait, no, yes. After a few sets of warming up, your technique that's supposed to be as good as it can for that movement, for that exercise is, really good and as good as it can. And then it's not like first couple reps look really sloppy and weird and it's your body getting used to it. That part's the warm-up. You want to take care of that in the warm-up. Why do we do all these things? Some of them it's kind of apparent. One is to reduce the risk of injury. When you are taking cold muscles and trying to make them contract really hard, colder tendons, connective tissues, the various compartments of fluids in your joints aren't very fluid yet, and they're very highly viscous. Before that warm-up process, the probability of something going wrong is higher, right? It just is. It's like running your engine, gassing your engine in your car when it's cold. I was told bad things happen in the engine when that is the case. Next, warming up properly activates the energy systems, activates the nervous system, improves your technique so that you can actually perform better. Performing better for muscle growth means that there's a certain potential amount of how hard your muscles can push themselves, and the closer they get to really hard, the more they grow. And if your performance because of a crappy warm-up is here, you don't even get into that awesome zone of really pushing your muscles to grow. So a big part of that warm-up is to make sure you're improving your performance. Let me give you an example. If you're capable of doing 405 pounds on the leg press for 15 reps at your very best, after a warm-up, we know something, that those last 5 reps, rep 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, grow substantially more muscle than all the reps before because they're the ones closest to the failure point. They don't grow all the muscle. The lead-in reps grow plenty, but something pretty awesome happens in those last 5 reps. If you don't warm up cold, you just go right into leg press, no warm-up, 405 pounds, and you do it for as many reps as you can, you may likely, maybe, if you're really good at doing shit cold, you might be able to do 405 for 10 reps. Low clap. And you'll go to what is perceived to you as failure. You won't be able to contract your quads anymore. The weight will fall back on you. People will peel you out of the leg press. Congratulations, you're hardcore. The problem is the internal muscular stimulus is measured on an absolute scale of how much could you really do gun to head. And so whatever you think your failure point is at rep 10, your real failure point, and put another way, the point at which you'll gain all of the gains you could have gotten in that set is 5 whole reps away. And you're so underperforming, you can't get there. So you miss the best possible reps, the most muscle growth stimulative reps of that whole training, of that first set at least, because you didn't warm up properly and you went in cold and your body wasn't able to perform well enough to get itself into that zone where it begins to grow a very disproportionately high amount of muscle. Lastly, by improving your technique and getting your technique more and more crisp with warm-ups before going into working sets, you can improve the mind-muscle connection, how much you're perceiving tension and burn in the target muscle for the exercise, and thusly improve your stimulus and reduce your fatigue, improving your stimulus to fatigue ratio, and get the best gains. If your technique from working set one is ultra smooth and you're connecting with your pecs and all that stuff, you're going to grow plenty of muscle. Whereas if your first working set, because you didn't warm up enough or at all, is kind of like, I'm moving, is my chest working? It's mechanically, it has to be, but it's not, doesn't feel that great. My joints feel a bit weird. I'm kind of hurting my joints. I should have warmed up more. Voila. There's all that stuff added up, and your stimulus to fatigue ratio can be better if you warm up. Hopefully I've convinced you enough that warming up is something you should be paying attention to. So let's ask the next question. What are the key features of a good warm-up? There are a few of them. One of them that we typically talk about in exercise science classrooms and universities across the country is one that actually is a bit overstated. And it's probably not an important deal, maybe not an important deal at all. And it's called the general warm-up. Well, typically how you learn this in personal training courses and textbook is you get into the gym and there's two parts of the warm-up, general warm-up and then specific warm-up. And the general warm-up is something just to get your whole body warm. It has nothing to do with what you're training that day. Oftentimes getting on the elliptical or doing a step mill or doing incline walking is a general warm-up. And those are good general warm-ups. They raise your body temperature. They activate your nervous system just up here in the central part just a little bit to get you going. And they improve the viscosity of all the joints, etc., all the joints, even ones you might not be training that day. And so, 5 to 10 minutes on a treadmill is totally cool to do. But the thing is, if you're training pretty hard for muscle growth, your specific warm-up, which is warming up for the first exercise you're going to be doing, is going to be such an awesome general warm-up effect in addition, just you get it alongside. You don't, in most cases, actually need that general warm-up. So when I go into the gym, I do a couple arm circles and a couple hip circles, and I just start with my first warm-up set of my specific warm-up for that first exercise that day. If leg press is first, I'm doing leg presses first after my arm circles. I'm not on the treadmill doing 5 or 10 or 20 minutes. You can do it. And if it feels amazing for you and really shitty if you don't do it, absolutely do it. But it's just not mandatory in most cases. What you do need is at least a 2-step system for warming up in most cases. In your specific warm-up, warming up for that first exercise you're going to be doing, you probably want at least 2 kinds of sets. One set is a specific light warm-up. You do higher repetitions with a very light weight just to clue in the technique and start warming up the muscles. And then at least one set of a heavier warm-up, something much closer to the weight that you're going to be using, possibly that weight or even heavier than your working weight. And you're doing it for very low repetitions after plenty of rest after the light warm-ups. And this is doing more of that waking up the energy systems and especially waking up the nervous system kind of function. If you do those 2 things, because the first one is really light and easy, it's also really low risk. By the time you do your second harder warm-up, your heavier warm-up, you already reduced an injury risk because you're more pliable and more viscous and all that really good stuff. What do you get when PhD sports scientists collaborate with pro bodybuilders? The most effective muscle growth training app ever made. Get yours now. A common system that uses this light and heavy structure, but spreads it out over 3 warm-up sets, which for many people is a good idea, I can describe to you right now. It's real simple. You don't have to do this exact system, but the essence should be there. That essence of being at least 1, possibly a few lighter warm-ups, and at least 1, possibly a few heavier warm-ups before you do your first work set. So here's the system. First exercise, you come into the gym. Let's say it's squats. You do 12 reps with your 30 rep max. Oh my God, that's so easy. It's supposed to be easy. It's your first set of the day. If it was hard, you would be violating the entire idea of what a warm-up is to begin with. Then you rest enough time to where your breath is pretty good. You're feeling pretty strong again, 1, 2 minutes, something like that. You do 8 reps with roughly your 20 rep max. That's going to feel a little bit more challenging, right? It's going to feel a little bit more of like, wow, something's really demanded of me here. And that's good because it's more challenging, but you're more warm, so you're more ready for the challenge. And now that heavier, that sort of moderate weight set is really cooking some stuff under the hood. So for the 2 minutes that you rest after that set, your nervous system is really starting to get more active. Your muscles are actually slightly changing in their arrangement to push the force lines closer to where they're demanded by that exercise. Really good stuff is happening underneath the hood. And then last thing you do before you do your work set is something like 4 reps with your 10 rep max, or even more simply, something like 4 reps with your working weight. Whatever your working weight, if you're doing sets of 8 that day, sets of 10, 12, 14, 16, doesn't matter. 4 reps with your working weight gives you that feel of exactly how heavy your working weight feels. And it's going to prime your nervous system, especially for treating that next working set with that same weight as like, oh, I've done this before. No problem. When it's time to go hard on something, you generally want to have at least one set before where you go a little easy on it just to get the feel of it. If you're a track sprinter and you're warming up, you want to warm up like ideally on the track on which you're going to run at least a few times so that the first time that gun goes off and you start running, it's not like, holy shit, this is a totally different track I've never seen before. The warm-up should be as specific as possible, especially late in the game. So it's 8, 12, 4, rest a few minutes between each one, and then start your first working set and you're well on your way. If you have to change exercises, which a lot of times you don't just squat, you might do hack squats after that. So you do some squats. And then how do you warm up for hack squats? Well, here's the thing. Do you need a general warm up? No. Oh my God, you've just done 5 sets of squats. You're as generally warm as it gets. Do you need a specific long string 2 or 3 warm-ups for the knees and hips and quads and adductors, which you're going to be using the hack squat on? Well, also no, because you just did that warm-up for the squat. It's really just a little bit of a context switch. So for any exercises that you're going to do second, third, fourth, et cetera in your program, you can generally just do one warm-up, which means you just do the working weight that you're going to do 4 reps with it, rack. So felt pretty decent, felt kind of weird, felt whatever. And then the next thing you start doing after is that work set after 2 or 3 minutes of rest. If it's a muscle group you haven't trained yet that day, so let's say you do 3 chest exercises, you warm up 3 sets for the first one, 1 set for the second, 1 set for the third, then it's all work sets. And then you switch to training back. Yeah, 2 to 3 warm-up sets for back is good, but then that second back exercise, it's back to 1 warm-up set. Now, can you do more warm-up sets than this if you want to? Yes. But if you do just this few, is it good enough in almost all cases? Absolutely. So on that point, we can ask the question of, what is too long to warm up? Because there is such a thing. Once you are literally warm, like you're breaking a sweat and your whole body kind of feels nice and warm, so do your joints, and the muscles and joints are kind of moving well with a load that's roughly at your 10 rep max, a nice heavy load, you're ready. Now, depending on if it's a really big compound movement and you're super big and strong, or if it's an isolation movement and you're on the smaller, not so strong yet side, it's going to take you somewhere between a few minutes to maybe half an hour to warm up, kind of at most. Anything much longer than a half an hour of warming up, I want to see what it is you're doing and why the hell it's taking you so long. You may do some mobility stuff. You may be doing some flexibility stuff. You may be doing some activation drills that I can get really ranty about. Most of that stuff is just nonsense. Some of it stuff might have a benefit, but you have to justify it, at least to yourself, which means I highly recommend you answer at least 2 questions. 1, do you really get a positive from doing them? And 2, could you not do them and still have great workouts? Is it just they take up extra time and some buddy of yours told you got to do this activation drill, otherwise you die? Most warm-up and activation stuff that's excessive beyond, for sure beyond 30 minutes of warming up, is usually just a bad use of your time. The most important thing you can do in warming up is to move around, slowly increasing the load while decreasing the repetitions in each warm-up set. And in every single repetition of the warm-up, no matter how light or heavy the weight is yet, you practice what you think is your best, most excellent technique for that upcoming exercise. Because warming up is as much about warming up into a technique as it is about warming up generally for your body. And always and everywhere, if you really feel that you're not warm yet, if you really feel like you're not ready, absolutely take another warm-up set and then rest some more and see if you feel good. Increase the load a little bit, decrease the reps a little bit, and keep warming up. No big deal. Never rush your warm-ups. That is a sure path to injury. But also, if you're fucking warm, you're warm, and there's no reason to fucking perseverate and do 8 hours of activation drills and then finally call it a night because the gym kicked you out because it's time to close. In any case, warming up. That entire process of warming up is summarized in our RP Hypertrophy app. There's a link below if you want to give it a download. It's a really awesome app. It's going to help take care of all of your muscle growth training. And if you need help with dieting, I would love it if you tried our app, the RP Diet Coach app. I use it every single day for all of my meals. And to be honest, if I don't log my meals, I feel a level of overwhelming guilt that prevents me from sleeping and even speaking. That's right. That's right. It's my everyday existence. Just kidding. I log all my meals, so I've never experienced that guilt. Huh? See you guys next time.